Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on luxury travel. I'm Lisa Simonson. I'm the Associate Editor of Recommend Magazine and moderator of this webinar. And it has been made possible by Recommend as well as the following partners: Avoya Travel Network, Explora Journeys, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, and Transcend Cruises. Thank you. This webinar is a complement to the Luxury Travel Trends Survey that was conducted on recommend.com, as well as the 2023 Luxury Travel Trends Report, which will be available via a follow-up email from this webinar. So during this conversation with our panelists, we'll speak about luxury travel and offer tips on how you can sell to this vast market. But first, we just want to say hello to all of you and let us know where you're from in the chat, and we'll just get going in a minute. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. During the presentation, feel free to enter any questions in the chat box. We'll gather them together and we'll ask them at the end. And don't worry if you miss something. The webinar is being recorded and you will receive a link via email to access the recording at your leisure. Also, a link to the 2023 Luxury Travel Trends Report will be included in about a week. So we'll look forward to that. But let's start the webinar by having the panelists introduce themselves. We're so happy and grateful to have them here, and they are ready to help you guys with luxury travel. So let's start with Kareem George.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kareem George. My business is Culture Traveler, based in Franklin, Michigan. And I've been in the industry for 10 years now, celebrating my 10-year anniversary. And I focus mostly on luxury FIT. I've done that from the very beginning, and I'm affiliated with Signature Travel Network.
Okay, great. Thank you. And how about Carrie Wallace?
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm a Midwestern gal. I grew up in Wisconsin. I now live in Chicago. I see there's a couple of shout outs from Chicago. Hi, y'all. I've been a luxury travel advisor for about 20 years now. And I also have a boutique agency called Cerulean World Travel. We have 13 people. And I also happen to wear a second hat. I have a software company. It's called Fam Guru, which is an app for travel advisors like us and a website for travel suppliers to help us all better organize, take our notes, and be more able to sell what we see. So Kareem is coming to us from India, so he'll be talking about how you can sell what you see. But nice to meet everyone. Nice to see all the different faces from around the country.
Okay, let's hear from Dana Diesel.
Hello, I'm Dana Ziegel. I am with Gypsy Travels and from Utica, New York. I've been in the business for 7 years now, focusing on luxury cruises.
Great. And now Tom Varghese.
Good afternoon. Tom Varghese with Travel Tom, located in Rockville, Maryland, just outside of DC. I've actually been in business part-time for 21 years, full-time for about 10 years, left my career on Wall Street to do this because this is where my heart is. We focus on a variety of different types of travel, so not a specific niche. And obviously, we all love luxury travel, so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And as I said, we're very privileged and lucky to have you with us. So let's just jump in. The first question I have is actually for all of you. How would you each define luxury travel? If Carrie wants to start.
Sure, I'll give that. I think it's so funny because it used to, we used to hear about all the Egyptian thread counts and all of that, but to me, it's not about the quality of where you stay. That's a given. If you're sending a high-end traveler somewhere, the caliber of your hotel product, your cruise product has to be there, right? But it's the quality of how you spend your time each day and having the flexibility and the freedom to do what you want as you want. That to me is luxury. We don't get that in our daily lives, but when we're traveling, that's what we all want. And that's what helps us make the memories.
Thank you. Okay, Kareem, would you like to address that?
Sure. I like to think of this in terms of keywords, and I think the luxury traveler is looking for personalization. So I think luxury is very personal, and as an advisor, you really need to take the time to get to know what the priorities of the client are. And then another keyword, I think for the affluent traveler is ease. They want things to be easy. They're hiring you, contracting you, retaining you because they want effortless, seamless travel. They want to just be able to show up and they want you to do all the work.
Okay, thank you. And Dana, how would you respond to that?
I think for me, it's again, personalization, the experiences, unique experiences, and exclusivity. I think luxury travelers want exclusive experiences.
Okay, great. And Tom, what would you say to that?
Well, after all these guys have already gave all my answers, I'm not sure how else to respond. But as Carrie initially said, I think it's beyond just the accommodations. In the past, it used to be about, hey, what five-star resort can I put my client in? But I think clients have moved beyond that. It's more about custom curation, having a curated experience so that we understand the client's need. It's about defining every aspect of their trip from, for example, upgrading the transfer from a standard chair transfer to a luxury SUV or a limo transfer to make a wow experience. It's about a chef's table experience. It's about different components of that trip. So that's what I think defines luxury. It's not just about where you're staying.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Can I make one addition to something that Kareem said about the easy factor? And we can make it easy in a lot of different ways. When one of them is coming to them with curated ideas that they, we come up with the ideas that's suitable to them and they just make a decision. But it's also through that whole process. If you have a form you need them to fill in, don't make them fill it in. Fill it in for them. If they need to sign, great. But don't send them the blank form. That's not luxury. That's not what they're paying you for. They're paying you to make it easy. And that's it's easy for you. It's not easy for them. So I don't know, Kareem, you're smiling. It sounds like that resonates.
Yeah, totally agree.
Great. Okay. So my next question I'm going to direct at Tom. How has the luxury traveler's expectation changed in the last few years?
That's a really good question. I think pre-COVID and post-COVID defines a lot of what clients are trying to do right now. I think a lot of it is about setting expectations up front, letting them know what is and what isn't. Pre-COVID, we had lots of great resources on the ground, both in destination at the resorts and so forth. But even in my neighborhood restaurant, for example, I'll go there and I'll wait a half an hour to get my check or wait to get my food. So when we talk about luxury travel now, we always try to tell our customers, you may not get the service you're looking for that you're expecting that you used to travel before. The world has changed, resources are very tough. So I think setting expectations properly up front is very, very important. Also let them know that sometimes the availability is not like it used to be. So making sure that they book the experiences well in advance. That tour that operated with plenty of tours 4 times a day now may do 1 time a day. It may have had 20 people, now only has 10 people. So making sure they secure the experiences, because these are more bucket list type of experiences. So we want to make sure that those get covered.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dana, are you seeing a lot of expectations for tailor-made travel?
No, I don't do so much tailor-made travel in my business. But in the cruise world, I do see, again, tailor-made chef's table. They want butler service. And like Tom said, you have to book these experiences well in advance.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have a comment on tailor-made travel? Specificity?
Sure,
I think bespoke is the word that is being used a lot today. Yeah, go ahead, Kareem.
Yeah, I'm happy to take tailor-made. It's a lot of what we do, and I think the expectations, I appreciated Tom's point about setting expectations, which I think is key, but I think we need to also set our own expectations as advisors, that their expectations are still going to be even higher than they were in the past. The level of personalization that's expected, I think now post-COVID, is even higher. So folks have been waiting to travel in some cases for a few years. They're doing more trips and they're coming to you later, at least in my case, than ever before with very complex trips, and they want them done right away. And oftentimes I see a lot of heads nodding with my fellow panelists. Folks are on trips and making changes, which, so we just have to set those expectations for ourselves and try to troubleshoot and see what we can set up and put in place, and maybe even be more proactive about some of the things we've already started discussing here, making the restaurant reservations in advance, making backup reservations, checking transport times to venues and locations, because clients often will say, oh, we're going to play this day by ear. We don't need a driver. And then who gets the call? You get the call saying, oh, we're on the Amalfi Coast. We have our reservation. We can't get there. Can you fix this?
Yeah,
It's so
everybody's
true.
nodding for that.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, what I find too is that the pre-bookings for sure. We have clients going to Paris in a week and a half, and they said, Carrie, just you know what I like. So they're expecting that I anticipate what they want because I've worked with them before, and that's actually a very characteristic trait of a luxury traveler. You know what I want? Book me 7 nights of dinner reservations, and then they kind of get to vet them and say yes or no. But they're having me do that every night. They may cancel some, but the bird's in the hand. So they expect the bird to be in the hand. They expect that all of those details will be there. How do they get there? When do they have to leave for the restaurant? Am I going by Uber? Am I going by foot? So that level of detail in support of their travels, again, with the idea that we're going to make it so easy for them. They're also expecting to pay more. So their expectations on the delivery are higher because prices have gone up over the last couple of years, right? So there's a lot of there can be a bit of disconnect to Tom's point about setting expectations there.
Okay, so Dana, relative to what Carrie just said, are you seeing luxury hotel rates continue to move up, and how is that impacting your bookings, if at all?
I do see them continuously moving up, and the availability just is not there. I think more people, especially after COVID, want to travel. They want the luxury spaces. They want those experiences. So for me, I'm recommending all of my guests to book early because they're going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Tom, what is the availability like when it comes to luxury villas, VIP offerings, private air, that kind of thing?
So going back to the previous question, tying into this one, I think, the things that have less availability, like for example, there's some very unique properties like Jade Mountain in St. Lucia. I know they're one of our sponsors for this event. They've only got 27 sanctuaries. Their rates are astronomical right now. For next year, it's popping $3,000 a night, but clients are still wanting it because it's a very, very unique experience that you don't get very many places in the world. So my clients aren't having sticker shock with that kind of stuff. So when we talk about pricing and availability, they kind of go hand in hand. Some people want the more exclusive experiences, even though they might cost more because the availability is so little. And it's an experience that most people aren't going to be able to get. We don't do a lot of private air, but we do a lot of VIP offerings in terms of, the private chef's table dinner, private tours and excursions, the handheld experiences that they're not going to forget, but they're never going to remember that they spent twice the amount of money to do it 10 years from now. They're going to remember that it was somebody hand holding them through that experience.
Okay, great, thank you. So, Kareem, what is the trickiest part of selling luxury travel, and how have you successfully faced any challenges you've had along the way?
So for me, I think that's a great question. And for me, it's staying neutral, but still being informative and helpful. And what I mean by that is all of us know, not to sell from your wallet. Like that's kind of a 101 sort of thing, but still clients may come to you with dreams or wishes or things that you're kind of thinking that's a bit outlandish or that really can't work. But for me, the trickiest part is listening, being deferential, but still being very confident. So taking it all in, I think when you're dealing with the affluent traveler, listening skills are key in building the rapport, but also communicating to them that you're hearing what they're saying. But they really are going to count on you ultimately to be their advocate and to be confident in what you're recommending. So for me, it's often tricky to find that balance of being a good listener, of staying neutral and taking it all in, but then on the other end, coming out in a way, depending on the personality of the traveler you're dealing with, where you're still strong and confident, but you have that deferential humility as well in dealing with them. So you're not going to take your family of 12 to the Amalfi Coast in August and have dinner at Cyrenus, but you can do this instead, or you can do that another part of the trip, just not on Saturday night when you're contacting me a month before the trip is to go. So that's what I think is really, really tricky, is finding that balance in the communication style.
Okay, thank you. Carrie, you had a comment?
Yeah. For me, one of the trickiest parts over time is when the client comes to you and asks you for something and you have no idea how to curate that experience. And that happens all the time. They push you in really interesting directions. They want a certain type of a guide, or they want something last minute, or your DMC can't do that. So what do? You start to get a little creative. You start to go outside of your comfort zone. You ask your industry colleagues, has anyone ever done this? And I'll be honest, there was one client in particular. I'll be honest, I fired her eventually, but she pushed me. She taught me to be a much better luxury travel advisor because of all the crazy demands that I didn't know I could fulfill. But with a little bit of pushing and a little bit of gumption, I learned how to do a lot of things and get a lot of things done that I would never have believed possible. So maybe it's my own fear of failure that pushes me to actually try to do these things for clients. But I never say no. I always take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, how might I address this? But we have great networks, right? We have peers, we have suppliers, we have consortia to rely on. And so we just have to try. We have to be willing to try.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Dana.
Carrie, I just wanted to piggyback off of yours because you know what? I think it's key to stay knowledgeable about the products we're selling and what products are out there, and to maintain a great relationship with suppliers to fulfill the needs. And not just suppliers, but colleagues as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we can't do it all ourselves. And one of the things I love about our industry, even at the luxury level, is we're so collaborative. We call upon one another, our Facebook groups or within our agencies, what have you, because we can't know it all. We can have been to 80 countries, but we won't know everything about every one of those 80 countries. We need to call upon each other.
Okay, thank you. So stay there, Dana. If a client comes to you ready to book a luxury vacation at a certain resort because they saw it on social media, for example, but you don't think it's a good fit for whatever reason, how do you go about selling them on another location?
I'm honest. For me, I build a rapport straight away with my clients. I, ask everything about them. So I build it on trust. And if there is something that I feel it's not a good fit, I'm going to explain to them why I feel it's not a good fit and give them my recommendation. Now, on the flip side of that, if they don't want to take my recommendation, and no matter what, they saw this on social media, TikTok, whatever, I'm not going to say no, but I am going to set the expectation of why I do or don't recommend it.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I'll add to that, Lisa.
Yeah.
Like after COVID specifically, I think Tulum kind of blew up, right? It became like an Instagrammable sensation. Everybody wants to go to Tulum. Not many people knew what Tulum really was, but then like I get families with little kids like, hey, I want to go to Tulum. I'm like, really? Why? And then they really don't know why they want to go, but they see these beautiful pictures. But honestly, having been to Tulum several times, I'm going back again in 3 weeks. It's really not for everybody. When I explain to them, and I think education is the key, just telling them, I think our jobs as advisors is to educate our clients. I think that's literally why we're put on this planet, is to educate them. So if we educate them and tell them, hey, Tulum is 2 hours from the airport. Do you really want to go 2 hours from the airport with little kids? When you get there, there are no all-inclusives, and they think they're all-inclusives because some of the hotels have the word, all-inclusive next to it, but it's really not. Or that it's really 30, 40 minutes away from actual where Tulum is. That it's not that easy to get great dinner reservations at some of the great spots and have the expense of some of these things. I mean, once you educate the clients all this stuff, then you can let them make the decision. Yeah, I still want to do that. Thank you for letting me know. Or, oh, I didn't know all of that. What else you got for me?
Okay.
Just one little trick I do
Sure.
when they do ask you to book something that maybe you think is suboptimal for them, I'll actually make a note in the itinerary, because clients have short memories sometimes, right? Especially in the luxury space, they're outsourcing their travel lives to us, so they might have forgotten we had this conversation 6 months ago. And so I might put in the itinerary, hey, remember, we booked in here because your best friend says it's a great fit. I'm concerned about the following things, but if we have set you up with these activities so that you can go offsite to experience some of the things you really want. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to just give them that little reminder. so that they don't call you in the middle of it going,
They
never do that, right?
Yeah.
So, Tom, what trends are you seeing in the luxury travel space?
I think we talked a little bit about this a little earlier, but I think people are looking for more custom curated experiences, a little bit more off beaten path experiences. It's not just about going to St. Lucia anymore, but now it's about climbing the Piton Mountains. It's about doing a mud bath. It's about doing a chef's table experience at Ladera or something like that. So I don't mean to pick on St. Lucia by any means, but I'm just letting you know that as an example, right? I think people are looking to do something a little bit different, a little bit more unique, even if it's a little bit more expensive. I think social media is starting to play a huge role in a lot of this stuff. Like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look where I am, right? So I think that doesn't hurt me in the long run because I get to paint these pictures. And by the way, if you're not doing it already, make sure you have your clients tag you on all of your posts, on all of their posts. And then so that you can share their posts. I had a client who was doing some unique experience in Antigua, and the Antigua Tourism Board caught onto my story and shared their story and made them famous, right? So that was kind of cool, right? So my point is, these things not only help the client, but then they help you, but it helps build that momentum.
Great, thank you. So, Kareem, are you selling more wellness components into your luxury vacations? And are more luxury travelers requesting wellness during their vacation? If so, can you provide some examples of what you're seeing?
Sure. Sure. I think especially coming out of COVID, wellness is a huge trend. And again, similar to how we started the conversation with luxury, wellness means different things to different people. And I think traditionally we may think of wellness just as spa and spa treatments, but it can be, I've had clients want me to find someone to help them write memoirs when they're away. That recounting and building history for your family, that's a part of wellness and mental well-being. Being in the outdoors and hiking, and it doesn't have to be a technical climb like a trip to Kilimanjaro. It can just be, say they're doing a city vacation to a place like Paris, just getting out with a guide and walking around. It can be the more traditional wellness, and I'm finding that clients more are being curious and wanting to explore, well, what does that wellness vacation look like in terms of spending a week in Switzerland or in Germany or in India, where I am now, to maybe try some new sciences and new technologies and looks at wellness. So it's definitely was a focus of my business before, will I think be a greater focus going forward, because I think for the affluent traveler, going to Tom's point with the larger spend, I think with trends, people are taking longer trips as well. And with longer trips, we need to be more creative in filling that time. And none of us want to run our clients ragged. So I think wellness really gives us a tool where, again, we can get to know our clients better and build in a buffer component to the trip, or maybe a great way to end the trip that's going to hopefully have them come back feeling refreshed and rejuvenated and giving you kudos for taking their trip to the next level.
Okay, thank you. I'm not a panelist, but one of the most interesting things I've seen too are monastery stays for wellness. I just was very intrigued by that. Hadn't heard of that before. Maybe you all have.
Yeah, temple stays are amazing.
Yeah, incredible, right? So, Carrie, what are essential must-haves for your clients while on luxury vacations? For example, are they looking for seclusion, private air, superior culinary offerings?
There's so much that they want. I mean, I guess what I see almost 100% of the time is that all of my clients are foodies. And so good food and wine is a given. So we don't even ask if you're a foodie, although some people will say they're not foodies and so it's not as important to them, but we'll assume that good food and wine are good. The other thing that I find is, and they'll never say this to me, but just watching how they move through the course of a vacation, is they need on location assistance. And therefore, I will not do a luxury trip without a good DMC to partner with me. And because you don't know what's going to come up. Yes, you try to handle it from back in the United States at your desk, but sometimes it's a full court press to help them change on a dime what they thought they wanted to do one thing, like Kareem referenced earlier, but they wake up today and say, no, I'd rather do something else. And so having people, in addition to me, to be able to support them and making them part of our luxury travel team is super important. And so they won't tell you that, but they really appreciate it when it's there for them.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Dana, we've touched on this too, but are luxury travelers seeking off the beaten path destinations in order to avoid the crowds?
For me, no. I think I've got more luxury clients actually traveling with the crowds during the busy times of the month, the busy times of the year. Some, yes, but I think the majority of mine, no, they travel when they want to go, and they're picking destinations that are unique for them and have unique experiences and just bucket list experiences that they want.
Mm-hmm. No matter who else is rubbing shoulders.
No matter when the time is. Yeah.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the traveler. I mean, I think, Dana, you being tied into the cruise schedule, that makes perfect sense because they're going places at the best times of year, which is great because you can also retreat to the cruise ship and get away from the crowds if you want to. But we're seeing it. But people are asking us when they should go somewhere. If they have complete flexibility. If you have a family, perhaps you don't because you're tied into school vacations. But okay, when should I go to Italy? When should I go to South Africa? September is a much better time than August if you're going to Italy, right? Or we're starting to see the shoulder seasons fill up. Availability is even difficult in shoulder seasons in the destinations. One of the things we've done for our team was we created something we created a weather table, what we call a weather table. So it takes every geography in the world and it looks at it by peak, shoulder, and rainy or bad season. And so that helps us guide our clients from a weather perspective, what they can consider. And maybe they do want to flex a little bit and get away from the crowds and into something that's still good weather, but maybe not hot. So that's been a good tool for us to try to get them to think and expand their idea of when they can travel.
What a great idea.
This whole notion of off the beaten path, I get this request a little bit as well, not a lot, but I get clients that say, oh, for our honeymoon, we want to go somewhere off the beaten path. I'm like, why? I mean, there's a reason why people tend to go to certain destinations, either A, because it's a great destination to go to, so don't discount that. B, because there's lots of availability and lots of great experiences there. C, because it fits the budget. So when you think about why people want to go off the beaten path, it's important to ask that question. Why do you want to go off the beaten path? Is it just really because you want to go off the beaten path or because you want to go somewhere that no one else has been? But there's always some inherent risks and some disadvantages with that, which I think it's our job to educate our clients about that. Not just say, okay, let's send you to, I don't even know, Boondock, Idaho, right? Let's just not do that. So just my thought.
That's an interesting point. So stay there, Tom. Are you seeing luxury travelers, if their calendars permit, changing their travel plans to shoulder seasons?
Yeah, so we do a lot. We do a lot of romance travel. So for them, romance travel is defined as the honeymooner, the destination wedding client, the anniversary client. So for romance travelers, it's less likely that they're going to be able to change much with their dates. But for people celebrating anniversaries and so forth, we highly encourage that. My favorite client is one that actually give me a wide range of dates. We don't have a weather table like Carrie referenced, but I love that concept. But we kind of do it in our heads and we tell them, hey, this is the best time to go to these destinations at this time, where best can be defined as either cheaper or better weather or less crowds or better overall experiences. So when clients give us a little bit of flexibility, it gives us a wider range of possibility of finding the best option for them. My favorite client has no idea where they want to go, but they know what they want. So my favorite client will tell me, Tom, I want, I like, this is my budget. You tell me where to go. So that to me defines the best type of client. And I try to encourage my clients to tell me that versus coming to me with, hey, I've already researched for 3 months and this is not where I want to go. Well, give me a blank slate and let me wow you. And I think that's going to provide a better experience for our clients.
That sounds good. So Kareem, for you, are baby boomers still the top customer within the luxury travel space?
For me, they are. So caveat to that being, I certainly have millennial and Gen X clients that spend a lot of money on their travel. But if I look overall at my client pool, it is the boomers that are still up at the top, that are the majority of the clients that are doing the big trips, that are chartering yachts, that are doing private jets. So yes, I'm finding that there's a shift happening. And at the bottom of the pool, say with the millennials, there's more density there. There's more frequency of trips. Sometimes those trips are more fun to plan. They're sort of unique experience-based trips. But yes, the boomers are leading the way with the top ticket travel.
Okay, that's interesting.
And we love that the boomers are training their Gen X and millennials to like what they like, right? So a lot of the times we're bringing in the younger generations through that multi-generational trip that grandfather is paying for, but then the other ones are developing that taste for luxury travel and that understanding that you have to spend to do some really cool things. And they'll will eventually bring them along the path, right? That's a great way to get into the next generation.
Yeah, that's such a great point.
Interesting. Okay. Here's something that we were just talking about, Carrie. How does luxury travel and the expectations that come with it change for each generation? Baby boomers versus Gen X versus millennials and even Gen Z, if you're already selling to that crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does change throughout the generations. I'm not sure I'm an expert, but here are just a couple observations that I would have on that. You know, the boomers, they're the ones that are seeking that multi-generational travel. They've made their way in life. They've been successful. They have the time and the money to spend on bringing the extended family together. So things like they're expecting nice villas. They're expecting the ability to be together and have the younger members not be distracted. So African safaris are a beautiful way for them to get off the grid and take people away from their TikTok and Insta for a while. Gen X, they have families now, right? They have, some of them have younger kids, some of them have teenage kids, and they're all about spending the time with the family and showing their kids the world, showing their kids what responsible travel it is, what it's like to be a global citizen. And so I think they're about educating their kids on and giving them that worldview, and at least in the luxury part of things. And it's not that you're not looking for sun and sand in the process, but there is a more educational component to it. And like Kareem was saying, I think millennials are finding their place in luxury travel, and they're just learning how to trust luxury travel advisors. You know, they've grown up with all of the tools at their fingertips to do this themselves, but they're starting to ask, why am I doing it myself? I have a financial advisor now. I have all these other people in my life. Why don't I have a travel advisor? And so our job is to allow them to realize that we can plug into that part of their life, just like their trusted financial advisor, just like their trusted accountant, just like the trusted hairdresser, whatever it is. But we're here to make it easy for them. They don't have to work that hard and troll the internet. We know what we're doing and can take that off them. We don't have a lot of Gen Z, but we're starting to see a lot more of the conscious, where we do have it. It's the more conscious traveler. And, what is my carbon footprint? I don't really want to go where I don't really want to go to Dubrovnik in August. Where else can I go? So there's a little bit more towards the off the beaten path. I need to be a little bit different. They still want that Instagrammable moment, don't get me wrong, but they might be happy to find it where other people haven't found it yet. That helps. But
yeah,
I don't know that they're so into the luxury segment yet.
Yeah,
getting there. We'll get there.
The dollars have to come.
Yeah, for sure.
So Dana, are you seeing emerging destinations in luxury travel, and what would they be?
For me, more so Antarctica. The Arctic. Antarctica has been so hot right now. Just so many people wanting to go to Antarctica and cross off that continent off their bucket list. So I think for me, Antarctica, the Arctic, crossing the Arctic Circle has been a huge thing with my luxury guests. And Tahiti. Tahiti's always been a huge destination. It's one of the biggest ones that I sell. So yeah, I think, finding those destinations that not everybody can get to.
Okay, that sounds great. I do see a lot of Antarctica myself come across my desk. So yeah, definitely. Haven't been there myself yet, but so Tom.
Me either. Not yet.
Not yet, right? Travelers who seek out a luxury vacation usually are very much in tune with sustainability practices. Because of this, do they then ask about a hotel's sustainability practices, and how deeply do you delve into that?
We don't get a lot asked for that, to be frankly honest with you, but it's really nice when hotels do on their websites, on their promotional marketing materials, talk about sustainability and talk about green initiatives and what they're doing specifically to help the environment, reduce the carbon footprint and so forth. So when we do ask about that, we will definitely showcase those specific resorts for our clients that focus on that.
Okay.
Can I just
Yes,
kind of
Karen.
share a funny story on this? I mean, so we're hearing a lot more about this. Our partners are talking about sustainability. If you're a hotel and you don't have a sustainability initiative, you've really probably missed the boat, so to speak. And we're for example, we're part of the Virtuoso Consortia, and we're hearing a lot about it from Virtuoso. But one of my team members is a specialist in sustainable travel. And I was just looking on the Virtuoso website and I said, why can't she choose sustainability as a travel specialty? Virtuoso does not offer that as one of their 15 specialties you can choose. And so I wrote to Virtuoso and I'm like, hey guys, this is really consistent with everything you're messaging about with sustainability. And they said, oh, good idea. Let's now have an option for advisors to show they have a specialty in sustainability. So I think some of what gets people interested is also putting it out there that we care about this too. And that it allows us to have a slightly different kind of conversation with the client if we're able to even bring it up to them. But Tom's right, they're not maybe 1 in 10 is coming and asking for it. It's very different than in Europe, for example.
Oh, where it's more common to ask.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the top things they're looking for often.
Yep.
It's a nice to have coming out of the US market.
Yeah.
Yeah. To add to Carrie's points a bit about the storytelling piece of it, because I think when we're advising, we're putting together an itinerary, we're talking about hotels and experiences, we are selling it, we're creating the story. And I think for me, knowing the sustainability practices of certain suppliers or cruise companies and being able to weave that into either the consultation or the itinerary review has really helped a lot with closing sales, also with building the client rapport, because a lot of the affluent travelers, they're philanthropists, they're venture capitalists, they're investing in entrepreneurs in emerging nations. And I think when you can say, this is a hotel that's supporting the local community, they have created offsite housing for their staff and they send their staff's children to schools. I'm telling you this because I know that's important to you because you fund X charity. I think knowing these policies is another tool that we can use in getting even closer to our clients and making sure that they feel heard, that we know their story, their values, and that we're matching them with hotels, cruise partners, supplier partners that match those values. But again, I totally agree with Carrie and Tom. It's not a first part of the question checklist. Is this vacation sustainable? But as you get deeper, it can help with the decision-making process. And you certainly don't want a guest to come back from a place feeling as though there's been tremendous food waste or that there was plastic everywhere. That I think for us, we also want to know what these companies are doing because we don't want to be caught off guard if a client comes back and they're really appalled with what some practices are in places. And sadly, there are some companies that still aren't quite getting it, but I think more and more these are just ingrained policies.
One of the other things that's understanding sustainability can do too is it can help you preempt the price question. Let's say you're selling an African safari to somebody who's maybe not been to Africa before. And so maybe they're used to seeing $1,000 a night for a nice hotel in Europe. And now suddenly you're giving them things at $3,000, $4,000 a night. And they say, what, why, how can that be worth it? The answer is not about the room itself. It's not about the amount of food and beverage. It's about what are we doing for the communities around us? What does it cost to bring all of all these people and all of this expertise into Botswana? And so that is a great way of saying, no, look, you're making an investment not just in yourselves and your enjoyment, but in this part of the world, which is really a beautiful thing. And that allows them to relax a little bit about that ticket price.
Okay, great.
Lisa, can I just add something? I just want to add on to when Kareem was talking about the sustainability. Just a really cool thing that I did for one of my guests is They did a food packing. So again, those unique experiences. They did a food packing for an orphanage. It was probably the best trip they ever took. And in my head, I thought, oh yeah, it was a cool experience when I was selling it. But when they got back and they actually talked about it and the passion that went into it, I didn't even think about the sustainability of that, like with that question, until Kareem mentioned that. So thank you, Kareem.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the group reaction can be quite intense.
But related to sustainability, I mean, it's not sustainability per se, but it's about the community give back. A lot of destinations, a lot of resorts are really embracing local charities so that when you're there, you're visiting a school, you're doing a food program. I love when destinations, resorts pick up on that kind of stuff. And I also love when our clients ask about how they can contribute to the society or the local environment. And we love arranging those types of experiences.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to ask Tom this question, but feel free to chime in, everybody. What are some of the more amazing vacations you've created for your luxury clients? Can you share?
Gosh, in 20 plus years, there's so many that I can think of. But I mean, we just had a client, a family of four in Italy, and they did 2 weeks. It was a $25,000 land only package. It was really, really nice. I mean, it wasn't just about going to see the Coliseum. It was about cooking classes. It was about, taking, visiting local stores and visiting local homes even and stuff. So it was really off the beaten path stuff in Thailand too. It's not just about visiting some of the monasteries and some of the temples, but again, people really want to get some of those experiences around elephant walks or around, again, the local cooking classes are becoming huge around the world, which is really, really nice. So there's a lot of many different experiences, but again, going back to the Italy example, I think it's more than visiting the Colosseum, but what else is it there in the area that a family or a couple can do to really enhance that experience? Do not avoid the Colosseum. That's not what I'm suggesting here. Definitely go see the Colosseum, but also take a look at the other things that they're probably going to remember even more.
Oh, great. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Dana this question in terms of luxury and ultra luxury cruise lines. What are some of the amenities they offer to the luxury traveler?
Exclusive spaces, so exclusive lounges, exclusive dinners, butler service. Butler service seems to be a big thing that my luxury clients want. Accommodations and great food. Going back to like Carrie was saying, they may not say they're a foodie, but really they are. They want great food. And if they don't have great food, it almost can ruin the whole entire experience for them.
Oh, okay.
I also ask clients about what credit cards they have these days. It's kind of a weird question, but a lot of credit cards have priority pass lounges, access to that. And that definitely enhances their experience, especially when they come with their kids and their kids like, oh, who are you, Dad, that we're going to this fancy lounge? But if they have one of these credit cards, like even in Jamaica, Club Mobe is part of the program. In St. Lucia, their departure lounge is part of the program. So a lot of the destinations around the world now have this. So I have that conversation about credit cards, although I'm not a credit card guru, but I have this conversation about them. And that adds extra value as advisors because they don't expect us to have that conversation with them. So if you're not doing it already, I would definitely ask that question.
Yeah, I agree with that one. So Kareem, and this absolutely applies to everybody. We've touched on so many aspects of selling luxury travelers, but for those advisors who are with us today, who either haven't broken into the market at all or want to increase their luxury business, how would you advise them to find and close those clients?
Sure, the $1,000,000 question, so to speak. So I think there are many ways. For me, the biggest success tool has been networking, and I think that something anyone can do in their local community is find a cause or a charity, something that you're passionate about. It can be tennis, it can be art, and become involved as a volunteer. Even if, say, you're not at a profile in your community or you're not at a knowledge level in classical music, for instance, to be on a symphony board, but be part of a volunteer council for the symphony, be part of a docent group for an art museum. These are ways that you really meet folks that are also passionate and that are supporters and philanthropists. And for me, that's been a really valuable tool in expanding my client base. My only word of caution is too strong a word, but you really have to be sincere in that interest. So I would say be careful. Don't just look at what the hottest ticket charity is in town, the most expensive gala, and go if you have no interest in what they're supporting. Really find something that you're passionate about so that you can then build those relationships with.
Did we lose Kareem?
Did we
I
lose
think you ran out
him?
of quarter.
We
I
might
think you
have
ran out
we
of
might have
quarters.
lost Kareem from India.
Oh, there he goes.
I
There
hope
he
not.
goes.
I'm
Oh,
still
there you
here.
are.
I'm
Okay.
still here. Hopefully you heard most of what I said. I hope.
Yeah, I think so. Be
Great.
sincere in your interest in,
Yep.
what your potential luxury clients might be interested in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Anybody,
I,
Carrie?
I think we can all back up a little bit and think of this also very strategically in terms of how we're designing our businesses overall. And I think it's super important if you want to be selling to more luxury travelers to sit down and define who you want to be your clients and then start putting that out there in the universe. Now, for example, for me, my clients are entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders and their families who want a trusted travel professional outsourcing their travel life, have aspirations of flying private one day, and are based in major U.S. metropolitan markets. Start putting that out into the world with your partners, with your family and friends, even if they're not these people. And suddenly, after a few years of holding true to this story, guess what? Those are your clients. But on the flip side of that, you have to say no to those people that are coming in and are the mediocre clients. So you can't build a luxury clientele business if you are spending all of your time servicing the transactional client who's going to beat you up. The people that are saying, oh, for the $500 commission, they think it's the biggest thing they've ever done in their life, and they're gonna harass you about it until they have the perfect trip. The $50,000 client is going to say, "Here you go, check sent," right? And so you're looking for that for that kind of person, and you don't need 100 of those clients. You need 10 to build your business. And so saying what you will do, setting boundaries as to what you won't do allows you to really focus and go after those people that you really do want and getting involved, like Kareem says. And I also think a good way to do that is to become really well known within a particular niche. Dana's really well known within luxury cruises. Look at the name of Kareem's company, The Culture Traveler. How that speaks to what he does really, really well, and that attracts people because he's defined what that is. I'm a bit more of a generalist like Tom, but if you have that, if you're in Italy, a luxury Italy specialist, if you're a dive specialist, use that. That's what you lead with on your social, and that's going to bring in the first people, and you'll build from there.
And I think
another thing. Oh, sorry, Tom.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, just two for me is I ask for referrals. Again, I'm really good at building a rapport with my guests, and for my affluent clients, I always ask for referrals. When they ask me, what can I do for you, Dana? Refer me to your friends, refer me to your family. And also by curating amazing trips for them, they want me as their friend's travel agent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Deliver on your promises, and the referrals will be very easy.
Yeah, that's actually, I was going to make 2 points, and that was one of them. I think that's the biggest source of consistent business that you can get and quality business that you can get, because none of us want the price shoppers. But honestly, ask for the business, right? Sales 101. And if you've done a great job with your clientele, just like, I mean, I don't go to hairdressers or anything like that, but I'm sure women have their favorite hairdresser and like, oh my God, look who did my nails, or there you go, right? So you get really excited about talking about that. You get passionate about that. Like, oh my God, this lady's amazing. You got to go to her. You want to create that excitement about yourself with your clients and have them be like, oh my God, you're talking about travel. You need to call Carrie. You need to call Kareem. You need to call Dana. You need to call this person because they know what they're talking about. They're going to take care of it. That's point number one. The other thing is I was listening to Carrie talk about like setting up dinner reservations and all that stuff, but also setting boundaries, right? We don't do dinners. Forgive me, but we don't do dinners.
Oh, you're just wise man.
Yeah, it's just something that we're not going to get involved in. Why? Because restaurants change all the time. Ownership changes. They get oversold, and you can have the perfect trip all laid out, and then one thing goes wrong because they oversold on a dinner reservation, and they get yelling at you because their family couldn't eat there. So we try to mitigate the things that we can't do. I think setting boundaries is super, super important, right? If you feel like booking air tickets is not your forte and it's not something you want to spend a lot of time in, don't do it. Explain to your clients that they can book an air ticket just as easily as you can. Now, if there's an advantage for you to book the air ticket, like for example, your insurance covers the air ticket, book the air ticket. But other than that, again, I think setting boundaries is super, super important in defining what a luxury clientele looks like.
One of the ways we also set boundaries is we do have minimum spends in certain destinations. And so I don't know how many of you listening are probably tired of that. Hey, I have $10,000 for 12 days in Italy for my family of 4. What can I do? The answer is nothing with me. Right. Yeah. And so, we say that our minimum spend per week is we're now at 10,000 total for your family, not including flights. And above that, yeah, let's from there on up, we'll talk. And suddenly all of the noise goes away.
Okay. It's funny that you were talking about dinner reservations, Tom, because somebody had a question about why are you making dinner reservations if you're not getting commission on those plans? Somebody from the audience.
Sure, I can quickly answer that. And I think Carrie and I maybe operate similarly. I charge a retainer for every trip, and the retainer is to cover our time to make arrangements like that. And part of it too is a strategy to avoid the last minute requests, because clients will say, "Oh, I'll manage this on my own. I'll play it by ear," but then later you'll hear from the hotel or for them, or when they get back, they'll say, "Oh, we really wish we would have done this." So I try to really lay out everything. I tell our clients we can easily cancel reservations. We can't easily make reservations at the last minute. So let's just get it all lined up. And once you're there in destination, you can modify as you wish, but this is what we recommend strongly. And oftentimes we'll even make the reservations if they don't agree to them, just so that we have them as a backup. So that if we do get that email saying, "Oh, I forgot it's my wife's anniversary," luckily we haven't gotten anything like that, but we really need a great reservation. It's like, guess what? You're a hero. Sure. I have this great place lined up for you. Reservation at 7:30.
You remind him that it's his wife's anniversary, their anniversary, right?
Yes, exactly.
You have it on
Exactly.
file somewhere.
And one thing I just want to state is it's not always about what's making you money, right? It's about what's going to get them coming back to you and what's going to get them to refer you, right? So you may do a lot of things that may not make you any money, but it's going to create a ridiculous experience. I would encourage all of you to just consider that aspect.
One of the things that, especially with the luxury traveler, it's not so much important with a transactional traveler, but you're really trying to get behind who they are. I mean, yeah, you need to know where if they know where they want to go, sure, what the budget is, all those travel related questions. But then before you even start working on a trip, you need to go to them and say, okay, who are you as people? What are you always hoping to take advantage of when you're on this trip? What keeps you up at night with respect to travel? What makes you anxious? How can I mitigate that for you? What are your travel strengths? That's a weird one. They may not know what that is, but maybe they've lived overseas before. Maybe their kids are taking Spanish. Maybe they have a lot of financial flexibility. But my favorite one, after you ask those 3, is to go back and say, okay, if we're at a cocktail party 6-9 months down the road, you've had your trip and you're talking about it, how do you want to remember this trip? How do you want to be sharing this with your friends and family? What's important? And that's when you really see who they are as people. And that's what you have to play to. It may be, yeah, I really want to have felt like my kids got to see what it's like to live in Africa, and that they have a full appreciation of how fortunate they are to be living in the United States. Or they come up with all the darndest things. And suddenly you've got a different relationship with these people. Who asks that question? And most people are just like, okay, name, rank, serial number, budget, destination. What do you want to do? No, we can help you figure that out once we know who you are. So you have to get behind the who when you're starting out. And the husband will answer differently than the wife and the grandfather on that question.
Quickly, somebody, Kareem, is asking you to elaborate on the retainer.
Sure. So first, I'll start by saying everyone's business operates differently. So this is just what we found works for us. And there are many different ways that people approach this, and some people don't charge fees at all. We have a 4-level retainer system for helping with shorter trips, hotel stays. We have one retainer, several $100s for that. Second retainer for booking cruises, villas, more expensive, between $500 and $750. Any luxury FIT we're doing, we're starting around $750 retainer flat to do that. Then we also have an annual program, several $1,000s for clients that are traveling frequently. that want us on call, so to speak, to plan trips. But again, everyone operates differently, and the way we created these amounts is just based on what we feel fairly compensates our team and what fairly compensates the time that it takes to organize these different levels of trips. And also factoring in that cancellations and changes happen. So what happens when you put together an itinerary for 2 months and then they completely change the destination or the cruise line and you're starting over again?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess this will be our last question, but it could be a critical one. How do you make changes when there are time zone issues, like 9-hour, 12-hour time zone differences? Has anyone been through that?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we all have, right? That's another good reason to be working with a great DMC, because sometimes we won't even see that if the DMC catches it first, if you make sure to include the client in that relationship.
Rely on partners, and you have to, I think I may have broken up there a second, but yes, I do deal with the time zone.
Oh. Yeah, I think that
Less Kareem there.
Yeah.
How do you handle it, Tom?
There he goes.
Oh, there he is.
You there, Kareem?
You're back, Kareem.
Yep, I'm back.
Okay, well, actually, we have time for another question. Do you give your clients gifts? Yay, nay, maybe?
I do and I don't. Some I do, some I don't. One gift that I do for quite a few of my guests is straws, reusable, the washable straws to take.
We don't give physical gifts. For example, in Mexico, we upgrade every client to a limo on arrival. That creates a wow experience. We have a hashtag called Travel Top Limos. We believe the experience starts at the airport. I think that's more than, for us, I think that plays more into an emotion than some little thing that they receive when they get back home or something like that. But we tend not to give gifts. We think a perfect vacation is an incredible gift in itself. So we certainly hope they enjoy it.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, if nobody has any other comments, I'm not seeing any more questions. I just want to thank you, panelists, so much for participating today. And I hope everybody who's listening and watching has gotten a lot out of it. I certainly have. So we want to thank you very much and look forward to seeing you in the future, hopefully.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.